At the time of recording this video, we're 4 days into our 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. We chose to read a book by Michael Kaufman called The Time Has Come to Honor This Period.
The book is about the gender equality revolution from a man's perspective. And to quote the author, it's an unabashed appeal to men to join the gender equality revolution. It provides the tools to do it, the argument to do it, and the how-tos. So how did you find the book?
I really liked the book. I liked the fact that the author understands and takes seriously the idea of being an ally in the fight that women are undertaking for gender equality. So often, where there's a problem, the people who perceive themselves as having solutions will just take over without considering the people whose story this is, whose narrative it is. So I think he was very sensible and sensitive in the way he approached that. And I thought it was a lesson for people like us as well, not just for men in the gender equality revolution, but also for us just because we're women, it doesn't mean that we necessarily understand the experiences firsthand. In fact, we don't firsthand of the people who are survivors who've been through these traumatic experiences of domestic violence or gender-based violence. So that was a very humbling lesson for me to think that sometimes you just need to take a step back and hear what people are saying and understand what they need and not just assume that you have all the answers. So I like that about it. How about you? What did you like about it?
I definitely agree with, that concept. That's part of the problem that exists in some of the services provided to gender-based violence survivors today, where, we need to take a more trauma-informed approach to creating services so that we're getting the outcomes that we actually want. For me, also, some thought-provoking moments there. How I consider privilege is definitely something that's changed. I came into this with a preconceived notion about what the male patriarchy was. And, there's a story in here about a janitor who is a white male, but he's on the lower end of the economic scale. He makes a statement that, he feels powerless. And I was kind of like, whoa, what? In what world? Because this whole structure is built for the white male.
Right.
But then even within that patriarchal structure, there's a hierarchy. There's a power hierarchy. And, playing into that also is privilege. And everybody benefits in some form or fashion, man and woman, from privilege. And it just made me think, well, what kind of privileges do I have that I take for granted? And can I do anything different based on the privileges that I do have?
I think the theme of privilege was really well represented in the book. So the author talks about a quote, and I'm going to read it, by Peggy McIntosh, who was an anti-racist educator. And she says, "Privilege is an invisible knapsack full of bargaining chips that give you unearned credibility and keys that let you unlock doors that others have a harder time walking through." And I thought that was a really profound way of looking at it. Very often when you talk about privilege, it's something that people shun. They don't want to admit that they have it. It's almost like you don't deserve it. So why would you play that unfair advantage over, your fellow human being? But obviously the author understands his privilege and he's using it to make the world better by fighting for people who don't have it. So, rather than taking it as a dirty thing or a shameful secret, harness your privilege and use it for the right purposes. So, yeah, that theme of privilege plays out in the book. And I think that was a really good takeaway.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good quote there. Okay, so would you recommend the book to everyone else?
I would not just recommend this book. I would absolutely legislate it and make it 100% a mandatory part of our GCSE syllabus. I think it's full of insightful historical nuggets, thought-provoking anecdotes, and all in all, it's just a call to action for everybody to just do better, where they have the opportunity, and, just to make society better for everybody. So absolutely, I'd 100% recommend it.
Yeah, well, I'm in agreement with you. Definitely a good, some thought provoking stuff there, and a good call to action. So there you have it. It's 2 thumbs up from us.